It's something I wrote pretty recently, so I hope you enjoy it. All right. I don't live in the world. I just live in my mind, and I don't see what you do. 'Cause I'm not here, I'm somewhere you'll never find, and I don't see the full picture. Just what I can perceive, and I don't know your blue, I just know mine. And somewhere in there's both the truth and the lie. I don't live in the world. I just live in my mind, and I don't see what you do. I'm not here, I'm somewhere you'll never find, and that's alright. Cause what I always see, despite reality, is what we share is that we are blind. Cause you and I, by design, we don't live in the world. We all live in my mind, and I don't see what you do, 'cause I don't see with my eyes, but my brain and all the thoughts behind. Yeah, so.
Fire. That's dope. And you went acapella with it too. Nice. So start over so we can kind of get this going naturally, but I wanted to at least get this rolling. So at least when we start it, bop, it's ready. Um,
Makes sense.
yeah,
Right.
man. You know, I also wanted to, I think, ask you, how was your year? Like, how did things start? Like, was it has it been has it been a good start to the year for you so far?
Um, well, I think it's been, I'm not sure if my thing is recording. I think it's been a pretty good start to the year. Um, so far I came back from a cruise, and then I moved into a new apartment, and then like I've been doing a bunch of performances and setting up events, and it's been a very busy year. I've not really had any like days off, so to speak. I like pretty much every day I've had something that I've had to sort of attend to, in terms of like just the work that I've been putting in like terms of like music and poetry, and um, just like the artistic world in general. And it's kind of like I feel like I've been in a period of life where like the saying like the reward for hard work is more work is like really applying. And
That's right.
so every day I kind of get up and I have to keep going and keep doing like something else. And like I think it's like been something that's on the one hand been very fulfilling, but on the other hand is like exhausting.
It is exhausting and fulfilling, especially the amount of work that you do and that you put into it. I know you're always working, thinking, growing, expanding. Like so, day over
Right.
day, year over year. Like I'm sure like you're also seeing a lot of things come together too, which is fire. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, I'm excited to support like this year. Like like I am gonna make sure that like although my time is gonna be like super like regimented and scheduled, and I'm gonna make time to come see you perform a few times this year. Like so I'm looking forward to you. Just said it's coming by supporting and this. I love the stuff that you do,
Thank you.
and
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
um
It really means a lot to me, seriously.
yeah, man. The funny thing about it. I mean, I think, I, I guess as I put on the glasses, I guess I'll start here when I speak about you, and I guess as I formally begin the interview process, I think one of the things I want to share with you today, man, I really feel that I have truly met a genius. You know what I mean? A smart guy, who has a strong vision, talent, and overall, like a sense of conviction that is admirable. You know, that people look to and people see as you know, a real leadership responsibility that, again, like few people ask for, less people actually take on, you know. And I see like that leader in you, you know what I mean. And I saw that from the moment that I guess I got a chance to see you perform, and you're, you know, in Bushwick, and then getting a chance to know you, or get a chance to have a chance to speak to the man behind the artist. I was like, I you couldn't help but be a fan of Negus. You know what I mean? Like and you've made a fan out of me just in conversation, and even from, as I said, like your unique presence on stage. Like you give that, and as I said, that's something that, um, yeah, on two sides, man. I have such a strong appreciation for
Thank
it.
you. Again, I really appreciate like all of that. I'm definitely a fan of the work that you do as well. If you're not aware, definitely have been writing some incredible pieces and putting together some great work around those pieces to really embellish upon like how like the impact of the pieces, you know. And so I do appreciate that a great deal. Um, Coming from you especially. And sorry. I uh I do a lot of work when it comes to like doing music. I was thinking about it, and I've been writing songs for about 10 years now. Um, I've written over 1,000 songs. Well, songs, poems, things of that nature. But over 1,000 pieces. Um, Probably haven't performed 1,000 pieces, but like I've definitely like written over 1,000 pieces, and so I think like a lot of it is just like really just continuing to like continue like working and like trying to build. And I was sort of thinking about like just like today actually about how like I wonder how much of like what I do is like talent versus skill at this point. Like because like
Hmm.
looking back, like I had stuff that was like okay, but like I wouldn't listen to it. And like I know if I wouldn't listen to it and I made it, like and then like, and to kind of think about how like my style has sort of changed and how like I've started to do different things. And I I think that a lot more of what I've like developed is like just the skill around like performing and writing and things like that. And I think that a lot of it is just like just taking the time to continue to work on my craft every day and build on what I'm like trying to eventually like see in the world.
Hmm. You know, I think that speaks to your growth as a musician and as an artist. I think you get a chance to, and you know, being 10 years in, like you know, when you talk about it, it's like it happens in a flash, and you know, you don't think about it when you do it. You follow a passion at first when you start the art, and then all of a sudden it becomes this world that you begin to cultivate for yourself. I think one thing that, you know, we you know, people often go back to, right, is 10 years means mastery, means you are an expert in this particular craft. Now, having 10 years of experience, what do you think about that statement? And like, do you feel like you're there, or at the foundations of where that's headed?
I think that statement reminds me of another statement that I heard when I was taking MMA as a
Yeah.
kid. um and the statement basically was like getting your black belt is like graduating from middle school. And I think that kind of aligns like with the same sort of thing. Like, yeah, you're a master in the sense of like you know how to put all the pieces together, you know, or rather you have all the pieces to put together. But like putting them together actually is the part that's important. Like, in the same sense that you could be a black belt and you could, have all of the moves down packed. You could know literally hundreds of thousands of moves, but you can still get beat up pretty easily if you don't actually like coordinate yourself, because now you're throwing all these wild
Right.
swings and you're not connecting. It doesn't matter. And so it's kind of like, I do think that like being a master is like very subjective, like because I would say that like a person can definitely like develop a lot of skill, but then apply it very poorly, and then it's kind of like a master in what sense, like you could be a master if you were to like take your talents and actually utilize them, but you don't, or yeah.
Yeah.
But like with all that being said, like I think that I have a
I
lot of room to grow as an artist for sure. I think that I have a lot of tools at my disposal. I can, do a lot of different things and put a lot of different things together, and I know how to put a lot of different pieces together. But it comes down to execution and like executing over and over and over again. And not just
Mhm.
like having a mindset where it's like, okay, I know I can do this, or oh, I did a great performance that time, so now I'm gonna kind of just fall back off of it, and kind of just sort of coast off of the work that I've already done. It has to be something that like every day still I go back and I work on, some aspect, some element, whether it be writing something, whether it be, working on performing the pieces, whether it be, finding inspiration for different pieces, and connecting with different people and going to different places. But it's about like despite all of the talent and skill that I may have like developed over the years, I still have to kind of put in the work every day to maintain what it is that I'm working towards.
Mhm. Man, you know that something that is very thoughtful. Like intricate when you break it down that way. Um, I think I'm pretty sure a lot of times she was probably mechanical, right? It's the object of doing, not necessarily like thinking or thinking about it. But um, I also the intentionality of always wanting to improve and change in the craft in some way. I think that's really cool and kind of scary thing, right, for any person to do because it is for some in some ways a departure of oneself, and then in others it's also discovering parts of ourselves that we never even knew existed or we didn't want to particularly share or bring to the forefront of our work. Which um, I think question for you randomly. I think I want to ask what got you into the art, right? To begin with, what attracted you to it, and then like what got you
Okay,
pursuing this?
so for being very honest, what got me into this is I was attracted to women, well, girls really at the time. And
Mm,
like
okay.
I had no game. I was just there, and I was like, what am I supposed to say? And I was like, I'm gonna write a poem. And so I wrote this poem for this girl, and like I don't know. I don't even know how it went. I don't remember exactly. Or rather I remember, but it was like a weird, complicated thing. Like she liked me, but she didn't like me, and it was we were kids, so kiddie things happened. That's what happened.
Yep.
Um
That's right.
and then but like and so for like maybe 2 years or so, like a lot of my work was kind of based around like sort of trying to like seduce women in some way. But girls, I keep saying women, girls. These were I was 13, 14, like writing poems. These are girls. And like, yeah, I tried to like you know, seduce them with my work. And like then one day a girl was just like, "Hey," like I sent her a poem and she was like, "Oh, you're a rapper?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I wasn't. I was lying. I was lying. I was lying bad. But it was kind of like I could be. And so then I kind of worked on like kind of rhyme that piece and then put that piece together as like a song. And then it turned out to, work out really well. And people were like, oh, that is like, that was pretty good. You should actually like keep writing and doing things. And so from there, I like by the time I was in high school, I was kind of like known for just like the writing that I would do and the different pieces I would come up with. And so I went to Brooklyn Tech, and so like I think that also is just like a very great place for me to like have an artistic foundation, because that kind of got me into more of the, I guess, the leadership aspect that you sort of referred to, because I joined rap club, and from like when I first joined rap club, I kind of always like ended up standing out in some way. Like I think the first or second time I came to rap club, I ended up getting into a rap battle with the president of rap club. And the way you became president of rap club is you had to be the best rapper in the school. Like that's kind of just how it worked. They would just like, it would literally
Fair
like
enough.
the election was more or less. It wasn't about like would you be good at programs, or it was like who has the best bars. All right, now you're the president. Like you know, um,
That's dope. That's funny.
yeah, and so
so try nah. Listen, trial by rap battle is insane. That and sounds
yeah,
really
no, it
cool.
was it was a dope experience. It was like but like more or less through rap club, like after that was I think my sophomore year that I first ended up going to rap club, and then um by my senior year I ended up president of rap club, um and and I think that kind of taught me a lot about like just like putting together events and organizing things as far as like musical sort of events and stuff like that, and the different ways that you could go about it, because that's pretty much what my responsibility was. I had to come up with a program for us to go throughout the year, whether it was teaching them about hip hop, or whether it was freestyling, or whether we were all going to do a written, or whether we were going to just kind of go through different things. There was different things that we would do. Like we had battles sometimes. We would, but it was all the different aspects of hip hop and rap that kind of are out there that I had to kind of learn about in terms of like live performance, and because that was like what the program was.
Yeah, that sounds like it prepared you very well. Like, especially it definitely shows in today's work. The thing that is very interesting and cool is, a lot of people in rap, hip hop, music, it is one of those things where you have aspects of like you have this skill, and this skill, but you're not necessarily versed in
Mm.
that skill, right? Some like freestyling and writing are two different disciplines. Um,
I
and
disagree. I disagree very strongly with that.
one.
I think that freestyling and writing
Oh,
are
okay,
the
yeah,
same thing. The only difference is like writing is just slowing down the freestyle enough for you to get it.
the tempo of it,
But
yeah,
like it's pretty much the same thing. It's not, I
yeah.
don't think at all like it's a different I think that like the difference is, and I would say like coming from like being a poet that was like a more pure poet to like a more of a multilateral kind of artist. Um, and
Mhm.
one thing I learned is that freestyling is literally you take that poem that you would have written down and you just say it out loud. It's not more complicated than that. And especially if you're doing an acapella, you even do it at the
Yeah,
same speed that you would have said it as a poem. It
yeah,
is not a different
yeah.
thing. I think that a lot of people who are like poets kind of get caught up in that, like, mentally kind of like, when they think about it, they're like, oh, I have to like think of a line and then another line, and it's like, well, you would do that anyway if you're writing it.
Mm.
You wouldn't not think of a line and another line, you know.
It's true. It's a speed of cognition thing too, right? Like it's too like being on the spot and coming up with something. I think with fear of mistakes, it's not the right approach to go about doing it. You know, especially when you again when you speak your mind so fluidly, it should theoretically like translate, right? It just is one to the
I
other.
think,
And it is true. Like it's basically also like a sense of like memorization and practice that is involved too, because it is true. You have to come up with at least a derivative or a source of where you want to start your topics from.
yeah, and that's kind of all it is, you know. And um I would say like pretty much all you'd have to do, like all any poet at least who actually like is practiced in writing would really have to do, is come up with the premise that they would have written down, and then just talk about that premise as if they were, you know, and 9 times out of 10, as long as, you know, because of the practice they have as a poet, and the mental structuring that they kind of would have already developed in terms of writing down like rhyme schemes and things like that, you know, before you know it, you have a freestyle. It's not, it's not something that is so like distant, you know. But I think a lot of like people who are more used to writing like pure poetry don't think of it that way, because like kind of like you said, like they're afraid of like making mistakes, they're afraid of it not like having the same sort of like impact. But a lot of the time, like that's not really what, like, and I think it's also like a mental thing. Like it's not that they don't have the ability to do it, but they don't think they can until they can. But like if they just
Okay.
were like, all right, I'm just gonna freestyle a poem instead of I'm gonna freestyle a rap, you know, it would just fly off the tongue. I've seen it happen in real
Yeah,
time, to tell you that that's what it is. You know, if you tell yourself you're doing a poem and not rapping, 9 out of 10 is just gonna come out.
it is. No, you're right about that. It is true. You get it's getting comfortable, and then also getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's what we do as performers and artists, right? So the more you do it, that also matters. So and the fun thing about as you learn, like the fun thing that you do without throughout time to get better at conveying a thought, whether it be through writing or whether it be through performance, like spoken word, like repetition, like doing it again, challenging yourself, changing up the this, that, and the third. Like I think when you come up with anything that is worthwhile, you're like, you have to expect that you're not going to come out with, like gold and gems every time. Like you have to allow like you not to come out with that stuff so you're able to, say what it is you need to say. So it's
Yeah,
definitely encouraging to say that, you know what, like put that aside and you do it because you could do it.
yeah, I agree. You can do it. You know, you can. You just got to do it. Um,
So let me ask, what would you say is the best song, your favorite song ever recorded, like that you've done for yourself?
um, hmm, I don't, I don't know. Um,
Okay.
I think, I think like because I've been writing songs for like so long, it like it kind of like there's different songs for different moods. Like I wrote a song a long time ago called Chicken Nugget. And Chicken Nugget is sometimes one of my favorite songs, because Chicken Nugget is like
That's
a
cool.
very funny, youthful, like, and I recorded Chicken Nugget I think at like 16 or 17. But like you can hear that it sounds like something a 16 or 17-year-old would make. But like at the same time, like listening to it, it's like This is hilarious. Like this is why did like, and I don't even think I like perform it anymore, but like that's like a song that like is like one of my favorites. I have another song that I wrote. That's called "I'm Only Still Alive Because I Haven't Died," and it's a sing along. Um, and that one is one of my favorites. I don't perform it that often either anymore. I used to perform it a lot, um, but I don't do it as much. Um, but basically, the whole premise of that song is just like I get up every day and I work and I like keep on living and I'm still alive and like it just repeats. And it's a song that I like because I feel like the way I perform it is very upbeat and like very like enthusiastic and energetic, and then like the lyrics are very like nah, you know, and so that's always a lot of fun. Um, but my favorite song I've written to perform is definitely Starter Rager. Um, that is a song that like
Yeah. Now, Stoner
that
is,
is
and perfect vibes too for that Bushwick venue for Star. Like that was like it was the perfect. It's the perfect song for the perfect place. And yeah, once Starter Rager comes on, like it's like the tempo and the vibe and the energy is shifted and changed, and you're
yeah.
in it. And which is again, I don't know. I mean, I like that. I like the energy that you bring on. You just change the room. So for anybody listening, if you are going to see one thing, please, please catch Negus and perform Starter Rager. It's worth it.
That song is like old now
Uh,
too. That song is like as of this year it's gonna be turning like I think 3. So like yeah, time flies. That
yeah.
is like that is not a new song anymore. Yeah.
you know, did you like when you came out, like when you finished the song, were you like, I can't wait to perform this one? Like just
I don't think
can't
I
wait to
did
let
that
this one
song
out.
for like 8 months after I wrote it. I think I
Got
wrote
it.
that
8 months.
song and it disappeared because it was like it was so different from the other things that I like was writing that like I didn't really know what to do with it yet. I just kind of wrote it
Yeah.
and like it was like okay, I'm gonna sit this on the shelf. And then like I had written like what should I call it? And then like what really happened was I ended up I think showing it to people. That's what I think happened. I think I just ended up showing it to like a few of my friends and they were like, "Oh, you got to do this like for a crowd. Like this has to like be a thing that comes out." And then ended up recording it after that. And that's like normally not how I do things. Cuz normally I'll perform songs live and then like I'll record them after the fact because like a lot of times I like to like beta test the song live first. Um because then I can see like right in front of me whether or not like it's going to be worthwhile to put the song out or if I just should keep it for myself. Um
Yep.
so I can so that's kind of like something I did kind of in reverse where it was like I showed this to like 3 or 4 people. Now I'm gonna record it and see like what happens. And then I started like performing at places, and then a bunch of people were like, "Hey, like we'll feature you if you do that song." And so I just like ended up doing it like all over for like a year and a half. And yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and so it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's dope. So so it's one of those songs that just kind of popped off organically. Like it was like, and then you shot this one, and this one was the one. Which again, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, like once you we perform and once you start it, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna get people to move
Yeah.
for sure.
And I
Um,
yeah, I have a lot of like stuff that I'm like still what you want to call it, still like working on. That song's definitely been a song that like if I go somewhere and they're like, yeah, we just have time for you to do one song, it's like, all right, this is what you're gonna get. And like, yeah,
right.
uh, yeah.
So, all right. I mean, in your years as a performer, as an artist, what's been a milestone for you?
Um, I would say one of the biggest milestones that like I've kind of achieved is just being able to create a platform for others. Um, I think that that has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time, just as far as like being able to give others the opportunity to showcase their talents. Because, like, as much as I know, like, I work very hard on what I work on, I know that there's lots of other people working very hard on their craft, and being able to just give that opportunity to have these people showcase the work that they do, especially when it's artists that are a little bit more niche and there aren't as many venues and as many curators that are necessarily tapping into what they have because they're not doing what's mainstream. They're not doing something that sounds like everybody else. I think that like being able to kind of give those people an opportunity, especially really is fulfilling for me and has really been like a big milestone. Um, that and just like also just like being able to like work with my team and like have them like collaborate with me and being able to bounce ideas off of them, things like that. Because what you call it? I feel like I spent a lot of time learning about just what is needed as far as like the artist like community and things like that, and I have a lot of experience, especially when like it comes to performing things that are maybe a little bit more abstract or a little bit different from what like is normally uh, put out there, because it is a little bit harder, especially in spaces where you're not like as well known. And like if you're a newer upper coming artist and you're doing things that are, strange and different, and and especially if you're not necessarily as confident yet in your work, and so that also kind of comes out. I like to be able to create spaces where people can come and kind of work through those kinks and come out on the other side of that able to showcase what they really have and what they're really able to perform when they've been able to have that opportunity in an environment that's like safe for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think about one your team, and they are amazing. You're a great, talented group together as you are individually. And I can say that, um, yeah, providing an outlet for folks to get the reps in, to have a platform, to be heard, and create a lane for artists at all levels to be, you know, be the performers that they know they are and can be. Yeah, I mean, it is. I had stated that one of my favorite mics to go to, my personal favorites, is yours. I enjoy. I interviewed Sissy McGinty's, Jason's mic last month.
Mhm.
Jason and him like last month, and just one of my favorite places to go. It has like this home like feel where I'm just like, hey, I get a chance to just get the reps in, change things up, do things that are different, or Or you know what, be as bold and brazen to say what it is I need to say in this moment, right? And the same platform you provide, and like I show up to yours. You run it so professionally, man. Like you have such a one, such an intentionality, and then also like it's an experience. Even the places that you choose feel intentional. Like I'm immersed in whatever environment you're in, and you've created that through your work, which is real cool.
Thank you. Thank
um
you.
and that is just a fraction of the things that you do. You know what I mean? Like you're on the opposite side where you're performing as well as hosting, and like so you're doing all these other things on top of that, and yet you're doing it in a consistent way, and you're showing each time that it just has that level of, oh, this is done on purpose, and it has that look where you feel like, yeah, I'm doing something here on this stage today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How do you create that? Right. Of course. How do you create that experience? And if anybody, I guess, is going to take any advice, like what would you give them?
Um. Well, it can't be boring. Um. You have to
That's fair.
gotta have personality. You have to have character, and you have to. A lot of it is understanding that it's all a show. It is all literally a show. You're putting on a show, and you have to lean into that.
Mhm.
It is definitely something that isn't easy, especially like as a more introverted person, believe it or not. But it is something that at least I personally have had to like work on as far as just like cultivating the show part of everything, where everything feels encapsulating, like you said, because when you're running a good show, it feels like that's the only thing that's happening. Um, and that is something that I really tried to create, and just like that feeling of just like I'm at where it's at, and I'm experiencing the experience that needs to be experienced. Um, and I think that that's not something that is super specific, but largely based on like kind of reading the audience, reading the crowd, and just sort of understanding fundamentally that like people are looking for connection more than anything when they come to these kinds of spaces. Um, and when you can create that connection and that feeling of just like I said, like where you're at the space where you need to be and experiencing what you need to experience, um, then like it's gonna be a good time because it's you know it- that's just it. You can't not enjoy that.
That's right. Oh, that's pretty dope. Thanks, man. And um, how did the whole how did the Stoner Circus Mike series come together?
So at first we were going to be something that focused exclusively on showcases. Um, but then kind of just like through conversations with the team, it was like, well, we have to like just do something more consistent than like a showcase every like 5 months, because then people kind of fall out of tune with that. So we started to work on just like organizing the showcase, and now we are in the process of developing, I believe, three different showcases. I mean, not showcases, sorry, three different open mics. um we have an upcoming showcase, and we are working on, I think, maybe two more showcases for the year, with the possible third one. And then also we are looking into maybe having a fashion show as well. That's still like in the developmental stages, but that is also a possibility. So we're kind of expanding and trying to really get into other sort of art forms, other niches, other social groups, and kind of trying to bring them together and have them exchange ideas, have them share space, and kind of cultivate a sense of community that is bigger than just like necessarily the work that they do and more of an interpersonal level of connection.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenging and fun process.
It has its ups and it has its downs because that's kind of how things work. You know, some things work out really well and you know, and they're really easy and really straightforward, and it's just like, oh, okay. And then other things are like an uphill battle from the start, and like, but I think that overall, it's been a process that's been something I've been able to learn a lot from, for sure. I've definitely been taught a lot about human nature. I've been taught a lot about how people think and react to things, and
Hmm.
how people sort of process things in different situations, and you know how. And I've learned a lot about like I have a lot. I feel like the thing that I've learned more than anything is like self control and just like learning how to maintain a certain level of composure through the different situations and like not allowing things to become overwhelming and not like
Hmm.
giving up at certain points where things seem like they're more difficult than they should be, or that I'm not necessarily like sometimes like if I feel like you know things are working against me or whatever, um but like I still kind of just have to keep a cool head about things and figure out a solution and move forward rather than letting that kind of take over.
Yeah, yeah, and there are no shortage of follies when it comes to Showtime. Like, there's always something that changes, pops up, some variable you didn't, like expect, and you have to kind of like pivot on the fly. Um, it was crazy. Like one of my follow up questions for you was going to be like, how do you like overcome these challenges? But I feel like you kind of explained that, where it's like it's disciplines, like patience and like experience that that you are like working on each time. Um, because I think like that's the fun part is the performance. The fun part is like when everything comes together. But I think you
The
know,
behind the scenes is definitely, yeah, that's like, and that's the thing too. It's like as cool as it all looks to someone who's like not back there, like it's like you do like 4 5 6 months of work for like you know a 4 hour show, and everyone who comes to the show is like, "Oh wow, this is so great," and then like, but after the show is done, it's like, "Oh, I'm exhausted. Like this has been so much," and like I think there's also just this other feeling of like, "Okay, I did it. It is done," and like that is a feeling that like. On the one hand, it's like it's very exhilarating, you're very excited, but on the other side of that is just like I'm I'm gonna rest. You know, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do as much for a few days and give myself a little time to like come back and but I think that like definitely like having a team has allowed me to take those sort of rest periods because something that I definitely have sort of seen is just like people who are working by themselves um tend to like they can do a lot, don't get me wrong, like, there's a lot of people are very capable, but everyone at the end of the day burns out. And you know at some point at some level you run out of energy for you know when you run out of capacity for certain things, you know, even if you're not necessarily overall exhausted, if you've been doing the same thing day in and day out and you don't get any breaks and you have no one else to turn to, and like eventually you're just gonna fizzle out because there's there is no support system really that you can look to and like everyone's brain can only handle but so much of a particular subject at any given time, you know. So I definitely think that I cannot like say how much like I appreciate my team and the work that they put in to be able to so that we're able to pull off the events that we're able to pull off. It would not happen if it was you know things would not be happening the way that they are if it was just me. I would definitely be forced to do a lot less and be in a very different situation in terms of like organizing. um so yeah, that is another part. Learning to ask for help, I would definitely say, is another part of like the like overcoming those things. Learning to say, okay, I can't do this today, or I can't do all of this on my own, or um sometimes just yeah, I could do this, but I know that like I have these other things as well, and I just need somebody else to step in and handle this while I handle this other thing, just so that everything can get done, you know and I don't end up exhausted at the end, because at the end I still have to host.
That's right. You still got to be on. You still got to be present, and you still got to be focused on this and
Right.
everything
So,
else. Which is, yeah, that looks easy. You make it look that way, but no, I know that it is far from it. It takes a lot of work to make what you do look easy. And chances are, and this is what I've also learned, the easier something is for people, the harder it was for someone to do it to make it that easy for them.
yeah, yeah, that is definitely true. It's definitely a lot of work that goes in to make something very straightforward at the end.
Yeah, that, and you can probably point at many examples and be like, "Yep, that
Yeah,
applies."
yeah, it's and there's also like a lot of learning though. There's a lot of like, oh shoot, we didn't do that. Oh, we gotta do that. We gotta, like, and every day it's something where it's like just a minute or two of just like, oh man, I forgot this, and now I have to go and scramble to like get this thing done just to, you know, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of just like, oh, I didn't even realize that wasn't done, or I forgot about that, or I didn't think about this until just now when somebody mentioned it to me. Um, and so that definitely has factored in, just like just coming back to all those things and then getting them in order and scrambling.
And you learn, you get better every time. You're like, oh yeah, that. You think about, it makes those things make the next show
Yes.
better, right? That's probably the mantra and mindset y'all have.
Yeah, yeah, just constant growth, constant improvement. You know, if things are a little bit better every time, before too long they'll be way better than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you personally see for yourself in terms of like where do you want to take your art? Or like how far, if ideally in your mind's eye, niggas, what would you want to do?
Um. Well, ideally, I would. Hmm. Well, I'll put it like this. Ideally, I would like for my art to be able to cultivate community, and for that community to be able to do things that um, my people have not been able to do historically for a long time. And I would really like to kind of just focusing, really just like have my art be something that helps people to like empower themselves and helps them to recognize kind of just the world that we live in, because I do think that we like go through a lot of cognitive dissonance. There is a lot of kind of checking out in order to be able to stay in the world, if that makes sense. A lot of people are
Mhm.
aware on some level that their lives are miserable because of the way that the system is designed, and the system is not designed to care for, the majority of human beings. And because of that, but at the same time, they're aware of the fact that as an individual, they can't really generate sweeping changes through the system. And they're
Mhm.
not aware of how to organize collectively for the most part. And so they kind of turn to just checking out. They live in a world where they're half in and half out of the world, and they're kind of
Mhm.
just unable to fully deal with the reality. And so a lot of the times I try to make pieces where it, in a way, makes you confront like the reality of the world. But then I also try to write pieces where it's like, as much as this is what is true, like, you can do something about that. You're not like helpless to that situation. But the thing about that is that you're going to have to trust other people and not necessarily look to solve the problem on your own, because the problem is not a like necessarily a problem that is just yours individually. So realistically, like, any individualistic solution that you find is not going to work, because it's not an individual problem, it's a collective issue. And
Mhm.
so I think that I try to kind of just help people to identify the fact that, a lot of their issues, as much as they feel like personal things, are really more of a bigger, broader collective struggle that it's hard to see
Mhm.
in day to day life because of the way that the system is organized.
Yeah. Deep, profound, true. Uh, it's yeah. Um, I I go back to this word. I use the word uplifting. I had to figure out who I am essentially as a person, as a being, and what I want to accomplish. And the word uplifting keeps coming to my mind. And as I'm now centering myself and my core around that, when I hear you're saying what you're saying, and when I hear the actions and the motives and the intentions of others like that, where they want to bring up their communities through these forums and the mediums such as music and performance, poetry, spoken word, visual art, dance, and other. Like it's um, physical activity, you name it. There's so many ways that you bring people up. Um, you know, Being part of that collective experience, as you said, we tend to personalize that. That is true. And one, the good thing about what you do is that the words that you say, and they land and they matter because they come from a place of um, truth, in the sense that uh, there are things that are happening that you cannot control, or that are not of your control. Um, but you can choose within those parameters who you are in this scheme, and that is where a person can find the most growth. A one a You have kind of a stoic presence, like you talked about how like you talked about also like not having game, and quite frankly that's not how I viewed you. I felt like you were very like um yeah, like very just cool as a person. Like you just have this kind of like you have this air of natural coolness to you, like a natural drip to you. You know what I mean? You bring that. So that, as I said, like it was kind of funny hearing that, and then who we were back in middle school and who we are now, like the juxtaposition and
Well,
growth of
I
the
don't know.
people that we've become.
I don't think that I like have like game per se to this day. Like, I think that I'm definitely a lot more like confident and self assured. But like, I wouldn't like.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I think just
and you know what? And listen, and maybe maybe, and this is kind of how I see it, because I feel the same, much the same, where like I don't feel like I have quote unquote game, but I will say, you know, I am honest and self assured in many areas, and the other aspect of things is like I'm not about games, right? I don't like to play
Hmm.
games. Like so you know, I like being playful, but I don't like to play games. Like if I'm about somebody, or like I want to know that on the offset that that's
Right.
mutuality matters to me. Um, so in turn, I think I've also, in the same way we talk about systems, I think I've now learned that like someone, I don't live by any other person's preference per se. I'm my own flavor, and I know that whatever ice cream I'm selling, that there is going to be folks who will buy it. And that is important. That's an important self assurance, and everybody has their own unique flavor of ice cream that is
Right.
somebody's going to buy. You know what I mean? But I think, as I said, I mean, personally, from my vantage point, when I met you, I'm like, this dude is exceptionally cool. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, you had the, like when you're in performance mode, when you're in basketball mode, when you're just come and chop it up and chill, like, and come to perform at an open mic, like you bring this, I don't know, you bring the do you ever get this thing where like people tell you things about yourself that you don't
Yeah,
necessarily see?
yeah, I would say that.
Like people, so yeah, I think I'm speaking, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure I'm not speaking for myself. For people who know you, probably will assure the
Hey
same
man,
thing.
I think but I think the part of that is like if I was like cognitively aware of that, it probably wouldn't still exist. I think like that's like a catch-22 thing where I can't know if that's true for that to be true. It's like I think the second I start thinking to
Yeah,
myself, like, yeah,
yeah,
like I'm like super cool, then I become like a much less cool person, you know? I think that's like an inherent like
of course.
byproduct. But also just like I
It,
think that I'm just a person, you know. I have like awkward moments in life and I'm like, I do things that like are, perfect every time and I live like everybody else does, and I don't think
mm,
I see myself like that because I see like the times where like I'm goofy and like uncoordinated and like also the times where like I'm vulnerable and like all the other things where like I'm not like this like super chill person. Like I understand that that may like be a thing in certain spaces where like I feel comfortable, but like overall like I know that that's not like universal. So I think that kind of keeps me grounded.
mm, mm. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's funny, as we were talking. I think the thing that it came to me exactly like what there was an exact specific thought I had about you. I was like, and we're all the main character in our own stories in life, but when I met you, I'm like, this man gives me main character vibes. Like you're the star of the story in whatever adventure it is. And yeah, like I don't say that about everybody. There's just a main character vibe that you give off. And of course, as I said, it's your own humility that makes you that way too. It's your own humanity that makes you
Hmm.
that way. So
It's very
essentially, don't
interesting
change.
because I kind of look at it like the opposite way a lot of the time. Like I don't know. I don't feel like the main character in the story. I just feel like I'm in the story and like I feel like the story is like bigger than me. Like there's a greater point that like I have a role to play in the story for sure. But like there are things that are going on that are bigger than just like what I'm doing. But the work I'm doing is important for like things to continue to go on.
Yeah. You know who else thought that way? Superman and Harry Potter. Oh man. So man, let's see. When is your next event coming? Where can we find you?
So actually this Thursday on the 6th, we have our open mic and showcase audition. We will be having a new ringmaster coming to the ring, Demi Divine. Um, so that's something I'm excited for. Then on the 9th, we are going to be hosting the second edition of the Stoner Circus Showcase Series. And that is going to be with me and Capital Q and a bunch of other great poets and artists that are from the area. And that is going. We're also going to have at that same event. We're going to have trivia like last time. I remember you were there, but like we had trivia. We had we're going to have giveaways. We're going to have a speed dating event because this is February and the month of love and all. So we're gonna.
Nice.
But it's also Black History Month, so the event is themed around Black Power and Black Love, and we're going to be performing pieces centered around that, discussing the idea of Black Power and the idea of Black love and what those things represent, and how we can manifest those things within ourselves, within our communities, and um, you know really build up just the feeling of just like Black Power and Black love amongst the people that come out, um, in the hopes that that spreads. Um, yeah, so that is like the immediate things coming up. But in March, um, there are a few things that are also possibly going to be happening. So I'm not going to announce those yet, but just be on the lookout in March for some new events coming up as well.
Very, very nice. A lot to look forward to, and yeah, all that sounds amazing. Um, as a reminder to people, look, this took 6 months, okay, of hard work for all this to come together. If you're able, come through to any of those events. I'll definitely be at the one on Thursday, and I'll try to make a couple of others after that. But yeah, as I said, I'm looking forward to all of those being
Excited
successful.
to see you, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
No, man, thank you. Absolutely. Now, on the social platforms, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Negus underscore music. That is Negus underscore music. You can also follow the Stoner Circus. That is the underscore stoners underscore circus. Um, those are two great places to find me. And also, come out to one of the open mics. That is definitely a great place to find me. Although that is not like a social media, but
It's even better. You get to meet people in
But
real life.
yeah, really and truly, the best way to connect with me though is to like meet me and get my phone number. Like that is
Yeah,
definitely by far the best way to like connect with me.
yeah, letting for sure. Nice. All right. Fire. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. And you went acapella with it too. Nice. You know, and as I said, thank you for taking the time out to just sit with me for this hour and get a chance to allow me to pick your brain and get a real sense of getting an opportunity to allow someone to shine who, again, really stands out, especially in the performance space. Um, aside from your talent as an artist, you are a dope human. And as from friend to friend, I wish you nothing but success in whatever choices you make. I'm again supportive, whether I'm present or or across the world. I'm gonna be touting you for a long time to come. So I think it's yeah, just very thankful. And as I said, as I like to thank any guest, I think I will also share something with you. Um, yours had me thinking that I should do uh, on the other side of a black hole. It's very short. So I'll do this one. Okay. On the other side of a black hole, there I am, with you and the world, exactly as we are now. Nothing's changed. Yet everything is different now, right? We've traveled endless light years for stagnance. Give or take, you still will hold. In the eye of a black hole, you'll never see reality again. Then return to your disbelief in the supernatural. Poem. Negus, it has been an absolute pleasure and honor to sit with you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right. Have a good day now.
You too.